Hey, and welcome. Good evening. I was not here last Sunday, so I apologize for the miss in a free to dream session. I have some news, so it's some good news in the end. I may have been talking about an update to our technology, so that has finally happened. And if anyone has gone through that transition of getting a new laptop and sometimes all the fun that's involved when that happens, that was part of my last couple weeks. But the exciting part about that is that the new technology is awesome. It did take me a while. In some ways, it's great to get those upgrades because they do up the game. Obviously, there's an improvement, but that transition can be a little rocky. You get so stuck in our habits, our old habits, and we just grow into comfort of a certain level with what we have, with for me, it was what I was kind of putting up with for a long time, trying to resist the investment, but so glad I did it. Obviously, once you come out on the other side and you're over most of the major humps, it does turn into be a good deal. So that's a little bit about what's going on behind the scenes. Just in case you are not aware, I do a podcast called The Everyday Heroine, and today released the 21st episode. I'm in a segment right now. I started it, and then I got into a series of interviews with some phenomenal people talking about a wide variety of different things. So I encourage you, not only on the podcast, but if you're watching this on YouTube, there is a playlist for the podcast interviews on our YouTube channel. So go check it out there if you wish. Otherwise, on most of the podcast outlets, if you just search for either Maria Kaufman or for The Everyday Heroine, and actually, if you spell it right or not, make sure there's an E on the end of heroin. When you search any of the major outlets, it is on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Spotify. So whatever your major preferences are, hopefully we have it available for you. If it's on or you have an outlet that we have not hit yet and you are dying to hear the podcast on a certain outlet that is currently unavailable, let me know. I'll make sure that I'm driving to get populated on those directories. Every once in a while I do check them, and I try to apply to all of the major ones. So anyways, right now I'm back to, and I've been doing, before the interviews, I started a 3 Ps practice. And the 3 Ps are a peace practice where I understand everyone's going to have different flavors of how, or even if they practice peace. So sorry for the interruption, but so everybody's got a different way to practice peace, or maybe you don't even practice peace. I almost find that hard to imagine. But really, whoops. Okay. So anyways, so the 3 Ps, practicing peace. The second P is playbook. It's a playbook practice, which I'm actually mostly in right now. And the third P is progress. The cool thing about progress is it's typically something that, you kind of should notice. Women are notorious for not taking credit for and basically recognizing their progress. So huge emphasis on my part to make sure that women are aware of that and make sure that everyone is noticing and acknowledging, validating all of their progress. Very, very important practice. So the second P, the playbook, is super fun for me. I'm getting into it episode after episode. It's playing the game of life. I'm basically slowly creating an entire playbook on how an everyday heroine should play the game of life. And it has been super fun for me to create as I go. So far, we've created a concept. Basically, it's about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is kind of important, kind of basic, but super, super important. So that's the gist, the high level gist around the playbook. I have defined an outline. It's got 7 aspects to fill in as I go. I've hit the first aspect, which is the objective of the game. 6 short sentences that basically define the objective. Now that I'm into facet number 2, so I'm talking about the playing field. And just to give you a little bit more information on that whole playbook piece, I'm following Major League Baseball's rules on how to play the game of baseball. I think, I've downloaded it. It was available on the internet, at least the 2019 version of Major League Baseball's rules. So download that. I think all in all, that entire instruction manual or rule book is like 122 pages. So I thought, oh, that's a nice meaty size rule book that if I follow generally the rules of how to play baseball, I should be able to come up with a way for an everyday heroine to play the game of life. So once again, it's been super fun. Check out the Everyday Heroine podcast. All the details are in there. I'm having a great time. So today was all about the playing field and defining what that is. And got a little tricky and fun. I had to rely on some of my favorite movies and some concepts from there to communicate what can I be talking about? How can I explain how to play the game of life and describe what the playing field is, right? So that is that. Also on the podcast, and this is what I wanted to bring to the discussion today. We are just a couple days away from Thanksgiving in the US. It is Thanksgiving holiday. I'm a little bit in shock. It seems like this year has completely flown. All of a sudden, it's Thanksgiving week this week. Can't believe it. Super excited. Certainly love the holidays. I talk about some of my favorite parts of the holidays in the podcast. But I wanted to bring a couple of tips that I did share in the podcast here to this live in a little preparation, because I think it's really important to not only celebrate the holidays for at least a little bit of the intention of the holiday, but also because holidays are typically family and fun enjoyment time. But I acknowledge that that's not always the case, right? Sometimes our families can be the most stressful part of the holiday celebration. So I've got a couple of steps here. So actually, I wanted to show you a little bit about that. Sorry for the delay. I am getting used to the environment. And now that the technology has improved, I can see a drastic difference. Even recording my podcast this morning, I'm using the same hardware. I have a Yeti Blue condenser mic, and I love it. Absolutely love it. With my new system, I immediately can tell the improvement on the audio. That took me a little while. I had to figure that out. I do love how Windows makes it completely flexible for you to set up your system in a dynamic, flexible way. But there were definitely differences from my old system to this system that I had to work out and I had to figure it out. But eventually all that work was so worth it. When I went to record today, I finally all got it all nice and tuned up, and the audio is amazing. So I'm super, super excited. So now that the audio's hopefully just as well, I can also tell even immediately how much better the video is here on this broadcast. That was one of the reasons, once again, that inspired me to up the technology so that we can bring you some quality products and services, right? That's what it's all about. And I can tell, at least from my perspective, even, it does not appear to have a delay. The video looks good. I'm going to expect that the audio is good only because of the effort that I've already put in for the podcast. So watch the podcast. And 3 steps for enjoying the holidays. This is my tip of the week and my way of sending my thanks and gratitude for Thanksgiving. One of the neatest things that I think that we do here in America is to have a holiday known as Thanksgiving, and basically it's a national exercise in gratitude. You know, we do a big feast, basically. A lot of us, I'm sure, do the traditional turkey. Some people do ham. Whatever you do, even if you're vegan, vegetarian, whatever it may be, it's basically making a big, huge feast spread to celebrate and to give thanks, I think, to whatever you want to give thanks for, right? The Pilgrims kind of kicked it off back in 1621 as a way to give thanks for the harvest from the preceding year. So basically, they're kind of done with the whole harvest. They basically take the time to sit down and say thank you for all of that awesomeness. So I'm a big gratitude on a regular basis practitioner. But I do like how, once again, that in America we can take a national holiday and kind of basically turn that into a big celebration of gratitude. So I have no idea what anyone's getting into. Typically, once again, it's a family and friend kind of get together. So I have 3 tips for you. So number 1 is to ask yourself, who do you want to be with? Right? Who do you want to be with? And sometimes the people that you're going to be with are not necessarily the people that you want to be with. Sometimes it's a mix. And I go as far in the podcast today to say, listen, if you ask yourself, who do you want to be with? And the people that you're going to be with, like no one is even on the list. You may want to check in and question the next question. I also kind of tip off that, it's an interesting time. I have a daughter that's a senior in college, so she's been there for a couple of years. She certainly had the option throughout her 4-year college career to have an alternative for Thanksgiving. And I kind of expected that maybe somewhere along those 4 years that she would opt to do something different than possibly come home to hang out with her own family. And she has always come home to hang out with her own family. Yeah, I'm grateful for that. Totally grateful. And of course, she's the one that I want to be with. Bar none, given any option, my daughter is definitely the number 1 priority for a Thanksgiving celebration. So, second question. Ask yourself, where do you want to be with the people you want to be with? Yes. So, one of the options that I was also entertaining along the college career knowing that my daughter was going to be basically hanging out with her family, was the possibility to go someplace else, right? There has been a couple of Thanksgivings that we chose not to be in our hometown. And they have been actually some of the best Thanksgivings that I've ever had. And it's kind of nice too, in some of those scenarios, that you don't have to cook. I'm not a big cooker, so that's okay with me. There were times when I was married that I have to say, my ex and I could cook a really good turkey. And we did the brine, by the way, just in case anybody's wondering, go for the brine. Highly suggested. Quick and easy and juicy, juicy turkey. Highly recommended. So where do you want to be with the people that you want to be with? That's always a nice twist to the holiday celebration plans. At this point, you could be still planning. I don't know, it's never too late. And maybe even with still coming out of the global pandemic, it's still a thing. Still maybe cramping some travel plans, some travel opportunities. I like to take, once again, those opportunities that when nobody else is traveling or going to a certain destination, that's when I want to be there. Not a big crowd kind of person, let's say. So the third question is, I like to ask, how do I want to remember this celebration? This is by far the best recommendation I have for getting through those tricky parts where there may be a mixture of some of the people that you absolutely love and look forward to, and possibly some of the people that might stress you out, or you may feel dreadful about being in the same environment or the same space as some other people. So I think the way I literally said it in the podcast was, when you focus on how you want to remember the celebration, it hopefully has the power to eliminate any kind of memories that have no place in history, right? And when I've, there are stories, and I've certainly had my moments where it wasn't such a pleasure. Not that, I necessarily did anything crazy, but you kind of want to walk away from a celebration, especially like Thanksgiving, with fond memories. So as long as you're hanging out with the people that you want to be with, you're where you want to be, that would be great. And even if you're not where you want to be, certainly if you're with who you want to be, make sure you jump on those opportunities to celebrate in a way that creates memories for a lifetime. Okay, so that's that. My last couple tips before I leave you is, we are coming to the end of 2021. So if you haven't heard me say it so far, I'm certainly talking about it on the podcast. I am now booking corporate workshops for 2022. And I'm doing that at the 2021 pricing. Not a lot of time left on 2021. So if you have the time and you are aware of any budgetary opportunities that could get you with a paid corporate workshop paid out in 2021 pricing before the end of the year, I jump on that at 2022. We are activating our 2022 pricing structures. And 'tis this kind of the season. It's I've held off increasing prices. I know everywhere you turn, everybody else is not necessarily holding off anymore on those increased prices. So that is the announcement for now. Two different ways. When you go to mariakaufman.com, there are a couple buttons that you might want to pay attention to. If you're not on our email list, you want to follow the pink buttons that say "Tell me more." And this week, I will be completing, now that the technology is all lined up, I will be completing the mini course. I'm converting the 3 essential strategies empowered women use for success. I'm converting that into a mini course. It was some really good, juicy content in there, and a PDF download was just not cutting it. I don't think that conveyed the meaning and the power behind those strategies. So I put everything and the kitchen sink into that mini course in those strategies. Had a really great time creating the mini course, setting that up. Using some of the latest and greatest technology available to us. Super, super fun. So make sure the pink buttons will get you to, and you'll have to follow the path to sign up for our email list. Make sure you're on it. The other 2 options are when you go to mariakaufman.com, right in the center of the screen, you will notice 2 buttons. One button says Corporate Consult. So if you are interested in a corporate workshop, we've got a corporate workshop right now, Negotiating with Confidence, must-have workshop for you and your organization. Some of the best ways to get some of your leadership training paid for by your company is to get that workshop on the books. So Corporate Consult will get you to a scheduling page where you can schedule time with me. We'll work out your corporate initiatives, what you want to gain from the workshop. I'll create a proposal and some materials to help you get that through to fruition with your organization. The last opportunity is, and the other button in the center of that screen is Consult a Coach. So for those with a interest in individual leadership development, hop on a call with me. That Consult a Coach will take you through my scheduling page to schedule those, what I call an empowerment session. It alone is a totally empowering session between me and you, where we find out what your dream life and your goals and your career advancement goals are all about, and we work toward a plan to get them and beyond. Yeah, so always have a great time with inspiring women leaders on the up in those sessions. So definitely schedule yourself a call. Once again, also on the 2021 timeframe, get it in now. It is the gift of a lifetime. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for all your patience. Sorry for missing you last week. Look forward to seeing you again. Check out the Everyday Heroine podcast, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.